Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Right. Right then. I'm just going to start again then. I'll start again. Oh, audio issues. Audio issues. Oh, hate it. Hate it. Oh, right then. So we'll start again. Welcome this morning to TSK F1, your daily dose of F1 news. And this week is a big week because F1 2023 starts here with the preseason testing starting later this week on Thursday. And we're going to be speaking about that towards the end of this video. But we're also going to be talking about Christian Horner, Adrian Newey, Red Bull, and what's going on over there. And we've got to talk about Oscar Piastri and what he thinks of his fellow racers on the F1 grid. And Toto Wolff has made some comments about the wind tunnel testing penalty that Red Bull have got and the impact it might have on them. So please do make sure you hit that like button, guys, and also subscribe to the channel. Right then, first story of the day, we're going to be talking about the Red Bull team and what they've got going on over there. Now, Christian Horner's been talking about Adrian Newey and his involvement within the Red Bull team. Now, you might recall a few seasons ago that Adrian Newey went to sort of concentrate a little bit on the America's Cup, and he wanted to work on some of that, and he was taking a step back a little bit from the Formula One activities of Red Bull, and he went and worked on that. I don't know the depth of that situation, actually, pardon the pun with that, but he wanted to go and work on some other things, and Red Bull gave him the freedom to go and do that. Christian Horner has been speaking about Newey some more recently. These quotes are from Grand Prix.news, but I'm not sure where he was actually saying these. But Horner said, over the past few years, Adrian has moved away from day-to-day work in Formula One. He now divides his time between cutting-edge technology and the championship. I believe we have the strongest technical staff we've ever had, and that allowed Adrian to leave and take over the Valkyrie supercar project. We still work with Adrian, obviously, but not every day. I think 50% of his time is devoted to Formula One. He's in the office a couple of days a week, but when his help is needed, the technical team can always bring him in. And I have to say, obviously, Adrian Newey is going to want to do his own things. I'm not really sure how old Adrian Newey is, but it strikes me as a good thing, this, from a few perspectives. One, it allows Adrian Newey to do something else other than F1, which I'm sure he absolutely loves Formula One, but like everyone in life, you have different passions. Like every single driver on the grid will love racing, but they'll have other things that they enjoy, right? And you do. You'll have your job that you do day to day, but you'll have other things that you're really passionate about, whether it's other sports like football or something arty or something like that. You have other passions. So it's good for Adrian Newey. And again, I'm not sure how old he is, but it's good from the Red Bull perspective because they're also having to think of a life beyond Adrian Newey, right? And bringing up their internal staff and maybe hiring from outside and upskilling everyone and just getting them used to the idea of maybe Newey deciding he's done with F1 or something like that. So it's a good thing. John said, I think last time I seen Horner speak about Newey, it was basically up to Newey. They just wanted to keep him involved in some capacity. Yeah, and that's kind of what I get from it as well, to be honest, John, that it seems like, well, it does actually say that he's 64 years old in this article, actually, yeah. It seems to me that they are sort of giving him a bit of freedom, but I think it's a mature approach as well from Red Bull, that they're saying, well, he is Adrian Newey, let us sort of learn what we can and keep him on board as much as we can until the day where he decides he's done, you know, and that day might never come. You do get people who work forever in a job or whatever, even past sort of retirement ages and that, just because they love it. But I can imagine he's been involved since, I think, like the early 90s within Formula One. I can't remember when Leighton House was, but I'm going to guess around the early 90s. And really, are you going to want to travel the world every weekend for 30 years? I think it would get boring, even if you loved Formula One, you know? So I think it's a mature approach from Red Bull, and I think it speaks to the rest of their technical team that they're continuing with him sort of part-time, if you like. I would be interested to know how much of a loss they feel Dan Fallows was to Aston Martin, who's now their technical chief, because he was very high up within the same area that Adrian Newey is. So it's like they've got their main guy part-time, and then they've completely lost one of their sorts of highest technical guys as well to Aston Martin. It'd be interesting to know if that's had any impact. I mean, obviously Red Bull are going to have a depth of talent within those departments anyway, and it's not going to be like one person leaves. Even though Adrian Newey is Adrian Newey, you could bet he could almost leave and they would continue being very special as a team just because of the depth of talent. You tend to find people like those, like Adrian Newey. They're the people who come in with the just absolute pearls of wisdom, with a different angle of thought that can just open up other people's avenues of thought. I'm not saying he's not talented. He, of course, is. I'm just saying, in my experience, those types of people that you hold in that high of a regard, it's not necessarily what they do day to day. It is them walking in, looking at something and saying, have you considered this? And it just sends the right people down the right avenues, you know? And I think that maybe miss that. Without saying it, they're saying he's not going to be here forever, so we need to transition without him, but bounce off him while he's... Yeah, exactly, Nick. And it's interesting that Horner has said that it's over the past few years he's been transitioning away. And Rob saying you wouldn't want to lose him completely, would you? If he wants a bit of flexibility, you'd keep him involved the best you can. Yeah, it's the experience, can't teach it. Exactly. And you can imagine Newey being away working on other projects in the development of the 2023 Red Bull, coming in, having a big meeting and them showing designs and him saying, have you thought about this? What about this? And then the other members of the team, it's up to them to sort it, but they just start thinking down those ideas and you know, and that's what you get. That is what you get. Please do remember to hit that like button, guys. I was told when we were streaming at the end of last week on YouTube, you might have to close the chat to then like the stream and then reopen the chat. But it really, really helps the more people hit that like. But there you go. Adrian Newey, I mean, look, he's designed for most people's favourite team during his time within Formula One. So I think he's well loved across the grid and across the fan base just because of who he is. But there you go. He's currently 50-50 between Formula One and the Valkyrie Supercar project. Next up, we have the Toto Wolff. We have the Toto Wolff talking about the Red Bull wind tunnel testing limits that have been put on them because of the cost cap. Now, these quotes are from the Mercedes launch, but I've just stumbled upon this from an article an hour ago on planetf1.com. And I've questioned the impact of the wind tunnel limit since the cost cap penalty was first announced. And what I've always said and maintained is, take what Christian Horner says at how impactful it is, and then take what Toto Wolff says about it, and then go somewhere in the middle, and then I think you're going to have the right answer. Because Christian Horner's going to say it's really impactful, isn't he? He's going to say that it's impacting them hard, and you'd bet, this is the first time I've seen Toto Wolff speak about it, but you'd bet that Toto Wolff would say it's not enough or it's not impacting them very much. And you can go somewhere in the middle and say a bit, probably, right? That's been my stance since the beginning, because none of us, well, some of you might work within Formula One, but I would hazard that the vast majority of us are nothing to do with wind tunnel testing in Formula One. So it's difficult for us to actually gauge other than an educated guess, right? So at the launch of the W14, Toto Wolff says, I think they've done a very good job last year in having a car out there that was half a second or more quicker than everybody else. And I have to agree. I completely reject that the Ferrari was faster last season. I still don't understand people saying that, because it just wasn't. And then he went on to say, the lack of wind tunnel time is certainly not great for them and an advantage for us this season. But if you have an efficient machine, you can certainly compensate for that, or large parts of it. So long term, good for us. But we've been in that situation, obviously without the penalty in the years before, and we've won. Therefore, we had less wind tunnel time than everybody else for the last 2 seasons. It's certainly going to bite them a bit, but if they have an efficient organisation, which they've demonstrated, it's not going to be big. And I thought those comments, I think they were honestly about right. Honestly, I think that take, given what Christian Horner said, I'm not saying either are lying. Christian Horner said that it was impactful, right? Why is my camera out of focus? That's very annoying. Christian Horner said it's impactful, but he's going to lay that on thick, right? And then you've got Toto Wolff saying it's going to impact them a bit, but Mercedes have been there without the penalty. So they've had it without the penalty. So if you're adding on that they're at a disadvantage because of the penalty, it's going to be a bit more of a disadvantage, right? But I do agree, the bit that works with what works with Toto Wolff and Christian Horner is both of them talk about the importance of efficiency within the organization. So both of them have spoken about that, and Christian Horner said the same thing, that Red Bull are having to be very, very efficient at what they decide they want to put through the wind tunnel. So they're going through their 60% scale or 40% scale, I've forgotten which it is, mock-ups, and through their 3D printing that they put onto the wind tunnel model to test. They have to be very, very, very sort of methodical and efficient with it, and say, is that what we want to subject to wind tunnel testing, yes or no? And if the answer is anywhere near no, then Red Bull aren't putting it anywhere near the wind tunnel. And to be honest, I think that's the right way to go anyway for any team, isn't it? Because I think the scary part for fans of anyone else but Mercedes, or indeed now Red Bull, is that if they learn and get used to being very agile and efficient with how they use their wind tunnel, when they are without penalty, it's only going to make their usage of that wind tunnel even better, right? So next season, say they have no penalty and they win, they're going to be even better with the time that they're now getting, you know? So it's interesting, I think, anyway. They're going to have to really slim down the procedures and the decision-making and things like that. And I've only just really thought about this, that it does make them even more, efficient, doesn't it? For everything going forward. And it puts everyone else almost at a disadvantage. I've never really thought about that. Obviously, this season, I'm not saying that Red Bull are at a disadvantage, but into next season, when they've got even more testing time, and on that sort of thesis and thinking, you'd have to think that Mercedes, with their extra wind tunnel time this season, they will have been extremely efficient with it, because for years and years, they've had the least amount of time. So their procedures and how they use that wind tunnel time is going to be really, really mature, isn't it? So it'll be interesting to see, and we can see some interesting things going on that Mercedes, not least the side pods and the engine cover stuff, right? So it's super interesting to see, and we'll see soon enough. We'll see soon enough what's going on there. Next, what we're going to talk about is Oscar Piastri. he's been talking about the other drivers on the grid and just giving his thoughts on other drivers. And I saw the headline. This was on motorsportweek.com and had to have a look because he found working alongside Fernando last year as eye-opening. He doesn't really expand on that, but he just says it was an eye-opening experience. And he says, and obviously he was someone that I watched growing up. This is Piastri about Alonso. And he says, I think Lewis is also another one. I've watched his success throughout my junior career, but it's going to be pretty special to go up against guys like that. And it is, isn't it? I suppose it's like a football player or something like that, getting their first team debut and stuff, and you might be on the pitch against people who you considered legends. I'm going to get to the preseason stuff, guys. I'm getting to the preseason stuff, and I'll tell you about it. And he goes on to say, but I think as a racing driver, it's going to be, once the helmet goes on, everyone else is just another driver. But it's definitely going to be pretty cool to race against some of these childhood heroes. And that is pretty mad. In fact, on that, obviously, there's Piastri. Just a little sort of side note. I showed my stepdaughter a video of Michael Schumacher yesterday, and it was him doing a pole lap at Melbourne years ago, and she immediately noted how Alonso was on the grid then, back then, a long time ago now. And yeah, it's crazy when you think about Piastri has grown up and these people are still on the grid, right? And I think it speaks to how strong they are as drivers and as athletes and things like that. He goes on to say, quite simply, I'm just looking forward to going racing again. It's been nearly 18 months since I race now. So just getting back out on track and doing what I love is the most exciting part for me, and also being able to say my job is a Formula One driver. It's a pretty cool line to be able to say. It's just really cool for me and really exciting to sort out and achieve the childhood dream. So just getting back out there, going racing, being able to race other people again, that's what I'm mainly looking forward to. And yeah, just being able to call myself a Formula One driver. So I think that's really cool, Piastri is a young lad. He's giving a nod to the sort of heroes of the sport and what they've done within the sport. But he's also in his moment and living his best life kind of thing, saying, you know what, I'm a Formula One driver too. And I really like that, to be honest, and that he's appreciative and that he sees that. And that while it's good to get on track against these sort of heroes and legends of the sport, that he's like, once my helmet goes on, I'm racing. I'm a racing driver. And I really like that. And again, if you watch the season prediction video that we did on Friday, I think I uploaded that. It's on the channel. Please do go and check it out. You'll see what we think of Oscar Piastri. So do go and check that out, guys. And also there was a new driver thing as well, which I uploaded. So please do go and check out the video content on the channel. John saying, yeah, he could have a long old career, Piastri. Sam saying Piastri could be as well as Russell, Verstappen, Leclerc, etc. Careers of 2040. Well, it's possible. It's possible. It's very possible. Okay. It's very possible. That's me. Somehow I had my own stream up and I didn't realize I had it open. But the final thing we're going to talk about today is pre-season testing. Right then. So pre-season testing is on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th this week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Let me just confirm that is the days. I have it written down, but that is the days, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Now, they will run at 7 a.m. till 4:30 p.m., and I believe that's Bahrain time. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week, 7 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Now, I'm going to be live on all 3 days, actually. I'm going to be live at 9 a.m. with an F1 news show, where like this, but I'm going to obviously be talking about testing, and I'll give you the latest that's gone on that morning before I go live in testing, and also probably a bit of a roundup of what we saw the day before and talking points and things like that. And the intent is on Thursday and Friday, I'll go live with a testing update at 2 p.m. And at 5 p.m., I'll also be going live with a testing roundup. On Saturday, it's going to change a little bit, and just make sure you've subscribed and you've got the bell button tapped. Mercedes are supposedly very, very concerned. I don't think they are. I've not seen anything legitimate about Mercedes being very, very concerned about anything at all. So be careful where you're getting that news from. I think, honestly, right now, if Ferrari were very, very concerned, it would be plastered everywhere with very legitimate sources, and there's nothing out there that's saying this, honestly, from any legitimate sources. So 7 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. guys on the testing, which I'll be covering a lot. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in testing. Now, everyone always, every year, gets completely obsessed with lap time and things. Personally, well, what are you hoping to see from testing? What is it you're hoping to see from the testing? What I want to see from testing is laps completed. I think laps completed is a very good barometer for where a team's at, because it shows reliability, and it also shows they are getting loads and loads and loads of data. If a team is doing less laps, but they appear to be reliable, that means they're already trying different things, which could point to problems, and then you just get not doing laps because of unreliability. Now, I would say that reliability shouldn't be too much of an issue. Really, I think we're a year into these regulations now, and I feel like they should have a really good gauge on what's going on, unless something has been upgraded within the engine, but they're meant to be on an engine freeze unless it's for reliability. So I think we're going to see some strong performances. Sam saying George Russell to be world champion, that can't happen in preseason testing, mate. And yeah, interesting for sure. If they all at least turn up, then it's progress. Remember Williams missing days. Actually, yeah, you've got a good point, John. That has happened. Of course, this season we only get one preseason test, having dropped down from 2 preseason tests and unlimited before that. So now we only get the 1 3-day preseason test. And I don't know. I'm hoping that we get some idea. Now, I would hazard a guess. Maybe last thing on Saturday, we might see a few shots across the bow. You know, you might see a Ferrari go out and put a lap in. You might see a Max go out and put a lap in. But honestly, in my experience, what tends to happen is people just talk about lap times relentlessly, and they are seldom representative unless a team messes up, like Brawn in pre-season, where they didn't expect it and did a lap, and it was just like, oh, we are that fast, like we are, what's going on here? But normally what you see is Mercedes just doing tons and tons and tons of laps, like mad amounts of laps. Red Bull normally do quite a lot, and Ferrari as well. With all the aero gear on, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to bring you guys new photos of the new cars, and we can talk about that. Now, on Saturday, I think I'm busy in the afternoon, but if I can at all go live for the end of testing, I will. But I think I'm busy, preoccupied there. But I will be giving you updates on Thursday and Friday. I will be going live 3 times a day on Thursday and Friday to bring you testing roundups. So please do make sure you are subscribed. But that is today's news, really, guys. That's what we had to talk about, different bits and bobs. I will be back tomorrow morning on TSKF1 with a 9 o'clock news show, and there might be some TikToks or something later in the day. We'll have to see. But thanks a lot for joining me. I'm going to be live over on Twitch very, very shortly on Pit Lanes, and I will see you later. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.